He's coming, Ava. He's coming. I had to interrupt him to start my...
What is it? I want to see your stuff. Can we see it?
Happy birthday. I haven't done that never when a student tells me to. No, not dog. I already broke it down in the hallway. Okay, hey, listen up, please. We're going to talk about this as a class. So, question here being, right, a company has a profit per item of $8.50. If after selling 96 items, they have a net gain of $635.75, we're trying to write an equation for their profit. I'm going to talk about the two ways to do that. I'm just going to keep beating a dead horse, I guess. I'm not sure. Okay. Now, I really like Arden's first thought. He said, hey, if they make $8.50, then they're either going to, like, their profit is either going to be a whole dollar or 50 cents of a dollar. Right? Their profit would either be 50 cents or a whole dollar, but that's not taking into account this startup cost. I know. Okay? So here, right, the other thing is other people were like, okay, if I sell 96 things and I make $8.50 per 96 of them, then I've made a total of $816, and then our head goes, wait a second, but that's not that. And hopefully you go like this, you go, oh, that's different from this. Oh yeah, because there's cost, because there's a startup cost. Okay, so if I made a total of $816, but my net gain is only saying $635, right? If I find the difference there, that will tell me my startup cost. That means there must have been some expense at the beginning that I need to take into account. To figure that expense out, you can subtract and find the difference, but keeping in your mind right now, we're finding cost. So this would be my startup cost. Now, when I'm talking about cost, it's an implied negative. Okay, so this is my startup cost, so which is also my y-intercept. So if I'm talking about my startup cost was $180 or negative 180, right? When I'm going to write the equation, when I'm going to graph this is a cost, so it's negative 180. Are you marking the A's?
I did not count the, I'm marking the A's, but I did not count
Cool.
them in the total.
You demand. Okay? So this is my startup cost. The other way, so that's the brain way to do it, right? That's thinking about it. Levi, I need you to put that down. The other way to do it is to say this. Is to say algebraically, my slope is 850. The point on the graph is 96, 635, 75. I could even show that graphically if I wanted to. Okay, I could say something like this. Yeah, it's coming. Okay. I could say these are my items over here. These are my items. This is my profit over here. So that after selling 96 items, I have a profit of $635.75. I know my line's going to have some sort of startup cost. I know I have some sort of startup cost. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out, right? So I'm kind of thinking, okay, here's the visual representation of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to figure out what is my startup cost. I have a slope, I have a point. I know the equation is going to look something like this. I saw a lot of this on people's paper. 150x plus b. I'm sorry, did I say 150? 850. Where 850 is your slope. That's the slope. And if this point is going to meet that equation, if it's going to match that equation, I need to figure out my startup cost. So algebraically, I'm going to plug in 96 for x and 635 for y. So that my equation is going to look like this. 635.75 equals 850 times 96 plus b. You'll notice we're going to do the same math that I just did on the calculator. Right here was the math that I did on my calculator. Multiplied 96 and 850, subtract from 635. Okay? It's going to be the same thing here. I'm going to multiply 850 and 96, and I'm going to get 635 minus 75 equals, what was it though? 816? That was my profit off of 96 items, but I need to subtract out to find my cost, to finish solving for b. to finish solving for b, to get b by itself, I'm going to subtract 816. Subtract 816. And I get an answer of negative 180.25 is equal to my startup cost. So that when I'm trying to write my final equation, I can write my final equation one of two ways, however you like to think about it. I can write it as y equals 850x minus 180.25, or y equals negative 180.25 plus 850x, right? These are the same thing. I'm often going to show you two ways, right? I'm going to show you two ways and two different ways to write it because, you know, the more you know. Okay. God damn it. How is third period in last place?
What is third period?
It's my Tech Geo.
Oh. What's for?
Miss Firestone's Tech Geo. Yes, Liam.
Why do you move the startup costs to the other side of the
Right here? This? Because I'm solving for b. This is me solving the equation. 816 plus b to solve. It's like if I had this, and I think that you would say, I think you'd agree with me, right? If I had like x plus 5 equals 11, how would you solve that? Yeah, I would subtract out the 5, right, to get x by itself. Yeah? This is the same thing that I'm doing, except it looked like basically I'm doing this. B plus 816 equals 635.75. Right, so I would subtract out the 816. Yeah? The only difference was that my equation was written real wonky. My equation was written all kinds of backwards. It was written like this. But it's the same, like, it's all this. This would be a good exercise for everybody in here. Convincing yourself that these two equations are the same thing. Silence your phones and put them away and just throw them out the window. Okay, these two equations are the same thing. These two equations are the same thing. First off, I can write an equation any way I want, right? It doesn't matter that this is on the left or the right because it's equal, so it's the same. So I can write it any way I want. I can also switch the way I'm adding. Okay. Yes, KG. Using your brain or mathematically? Huh? Okay. But let's talk about this. Using our brain, why it's not 180 is because if I make a profit of, if I make $816 selling 96 items, you're cool with that part? But I only have a net gain of 635.75, right? If I have a profit of 816, but that's all my records are showing as my net gain, then I must have had a cost somewhere. I had to have a negative because there's no reason that should be lower.
Go strangle him. Don't fight him. Red his face. Red his face.
Bunch of dropouts.
She said the dropouts.
True. It's true. Tech math dropout. Similar to what Levi or Liam was saying, right? It doesn't matter which way I write this. You should be comfortable with both. That's why I'm going to keep writing both. Okay? All right. Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me, you better remember that you're good because you're about to, I'm going to give you your classwork back in a second. No, your quiz is on Friday, though. Okay, before we talk about classwork from last time. At this point, yeah. Because we've been, hold on, we keep doing it. So anything that we keep repeating over and over again is because eventually, yeah, I want you to be there. Okay? I bet. Okay. Here's what I need you guys to do real quick. 35 through 39. 39 you could do algebraically. I don't know you need to. Here's how I'm going to do 39. Okay? You're going to get, we're going to go a little bit real math. Okay? There's one way that I can show you, and that'll be the way we'll take notes on, and we'll do that shortly. Not this class, but next class. But the more important thing that I think, and you guys know this by now, my opinion, I guess, or the way I think you learn best is by actually understanding what you're doing. So here, I don't actually need to graph those points. That takes too much time for me. Okay? I do need to know that this is at 9 and at 12, and that this one here is at 17 and at 8. So when I'm thinking about my slope, because I know I need to find that, I'm just going to roughly say, okay, it goes down 4, and then goes over 8. Okay? So then I know my slope is down 4 over 8. Right? My slope is negative 4 over 8, which I also know can simplify. Right? And 4 over 8 is the same thing as 1/2. Okay? Now I could use my graph to go backwards. The problem that I know is I can see that my y-intercept is going to be a decimal because it's going over 2, and my last point is at a 9, right? So which is not divisible by 2. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, I know my line's going to look something like this. It's going to look something like negative 1/2 x plus b. That's something that my line's going to look like. I know that it's going to, my y is 12, my x is 9 plus b. And so I know this is going to be 12 times negative, or is, blah, blah, blah. 12 is negative 4.5 plus my starting value. And so when I go back and I solve this by adding 4.5. I get 16.5 for my y-intercept. I could have gone up and back, up and back, up and back, up and back. That's another way you could have done it. Did you get it? Yes. Okay, so I have my equation is negative 1/2 x plus 16.5. Right, that's my equation right there. Okay, that's my equation. Okay. This one tells you, I'll tell you for B, I will do C. For B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it tells you the y-intercept. If you graph that, you would notice that that is the y-intercept and the slope of 3/4. So your equation, that is the y-intercept. It starts at 5, goes up 3 over 4x. Okay, that was the y-intercept. No real work needed. Okay. For part C, I'm going to do it the same way I did A. For part C, I'm going to use the graph. Let's use the graph. I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I just hate counting. Okay, there's the 0.58. My slope goes down 2 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Slope of down 2 over 5. I could do that again if I wanted to go forward. Down 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, I hate counting like that. I don't know what it is. And then I could also work backwards. I could do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. And I would see my y-intercept. I hit it at a nice whole number, an actual lattice point on the graph. But see, now I have to count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whew, it's 10. It's not 9 because it's 2 up from 8, see? So my equation here would be 10 minus 2/5 x. And yes, it's really important that you have the x with the slope. That's what makes it an equation and not a number. I'll tell you what, a lot of people do this on their quiz. They go like this. I have this argument with students every single year. They write that down, and I go, that's wrong. And they say, why? And I say, because there's not an x right here. And they say, you mean if I just wrote that little tiny x, it would have been right? I'm like, yeah. Like, that's stupid. Okay? But I would disagree. It's not stupid because this, y equals 10 minus 2/5, that's this line. That's y equals 8 what's 8 3/5, 0.6? That's this line. Okay? That's that equation right here. If I just graph that equation, that's it. when I add in the, or I'll show you it. 10 minus 2/5, right? It's that line. Oh, I was off, 0.6. Versus this, 10 minus 2/5 x. Notice the difference. Okay? Notice that it's a completely different line. So yeah, it's a tiny little x. Yeah, it's just your pencil, not a lot. But it makes a huge difference. Okay, it changes your equation completely. Okay, so making sure you have that on there. Alrighty. For 35, you should have got something around this. I'm not going to take too long to talk about it just yet.
For 35?
For 35,
Can you please talk about it?
I thought that was so long.
Yeah, I really would.
Wait, the word.
oh boy.
She said, oh boy.
What? Yes, everyone chose different points. The equation, so here's what's the difference between modeling, right? Those points aren't perfect. Those points don't make a perfect line, which is why we talk about drawing a line of best fit. Actually, my line was just sketched. Okay? When I talk about drawing a line of best fit, oh, here it is. Okay? I'm trying to, a line that approximates my data. Okay? I'm going to draw a line that approximates my data. So that's what I did. I drew a line that approximated those points. And looking at my graph, right, the points aren't in a perfect line, but they're close. So we all should have probably slightly different slopes, unless you happen to choose the same 2 points. For my slope, I know my slope is going to be how much more it costs per one color. The real life meaning of the slope is probably more important to me right now, that you understand the real life meaning is going to be how much more it costs if your design has an additional color. So I looked at the difference from 2 colors to 8 colors. That's a difference of 6 color changes, which is my x value. And by adding 6 colors, that increases my price by $3.25. So if adding 6 colors increases my price by $3.25, that means adding 1 color increases my price by 54 cents. Okay? Because I did $3.25 divided by 6. A $3.25 increase over 6 colors is the same as a 54-cent increase for 1 color. Okay? Yeah.
How'd you get that Y intercept? Is your Y intercept like 90 something?
92? Because if that was my slope, if it was 54 cents per color, I went back from my 2 color point. 2 colors was $2. 54 cents a color.
I just subtracted my slope from 1.05.
Here's what I'll tell you. I'm not going to talk about this too much, because how we're really going to do it is using our calculators. How we're really going to do this problem is using our calculators. We're kind of practicing it right now to understand what's going on. You should have similar slope and y-intercept. Similar. They should not be wildly different. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. So if your slope is within 50 to 60 cents, and your y-intercept is within, 75 cents to $1.25 or something, we're good. You could even just guess from the graph. Okay. Real quick, 37 or 36, 145. 145. No, 3 minus 8 is negative 5 squared. Negative 5 times negative 5, positive 25. Negative times negative is a positive. So it's 100. 3 squared is 9. 5 times 9 is 45. You don't need to use the tables necessarily for these graphs. I didn't. I just have my y-intercept and my slope. And then f of x we know is the same thing as y. That's really just y equals 4, y flies, x doesn't. Okay, y flies. I was doing y flies. I'm doing y flies. Y flies. I told you. That's what my teacher told me. That's what my teacher told me. Jan Jensen, my 8th grade math teacher. Y flies. Jan Jensen. We're friends on Facebook now. It's cool. It's cool. Yeah, duh. Huh? I know, I'm friends with all my old math teachers on Facebook. It's not. And then I post about all the things that my class is doing, and then they like it a lot. Because they're like, oh my gosh, you were my, like for instance, I'm hoping, like, play my cards right, one of you in here is going to be a math teacher. And then, yeah, I know. Okay, we know who it's not going to be. Okay. I'm just kidding. You're the one who said psych. I didn't. I wouldn't. I think you all should be math teachers. Because what's going to happen is, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go on to your math next year and be like, man, like I really miss Miss Stolte. Who knew how good I had it? And then you'll be like, I really appreciate having a teacher who is so caring and nice, and I should go and give back and teach high schoolers myself. Right, Mr. Hershey? Yeah. 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 I hate you too. Okay. Check plus minus. Here you go. You got a plus if you got it all the way right. You got a check if you got your slope right. You got a minus if we need some work to do. Okay? Right profit per item, aka slope. Plus means you also found the correct y-intercept of that back problem. The correct startup cost.
So the plus is the best. Or if you did.
A check means you did okay.
A check means you only got half right. Which is not really great for my...
All bad.
I don't mean all bad, really. I just mean...
Needs work. The Sophie, this thing needs work.
I'm telling you just really, truly, how I was thinking about this. Here's how I was thinking about this. I just wanted to know, right? Not bad, like, you know, room for improvement. I'm not saying anything negative. You guys are tough enough, okay? I'm not going to do the problem right now. I'm going to give you a second so that we all get here. Okay? We all get here. If you already had the slope and y-intercept both good, don't you dare let anyone copy your work. Because the point here is not to copy, right? We all can agree. You're going to have a quiz on this on Friday. If you just copy it down and turn it back into me, like, yay, I'll write a plus on your paper and you will fail the, like, you know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense, okay? So instead, let's all try and see if we can't rework the problem, okay? I want you to rework the problem, this time finding the correct slope and y-intercept, okay? For those of you who missed out and didn't pay any attention to what we've been doing, here was the problem again, if you need it. I don't have any extra papers. Here you go. Here was the problem. Break even after 315 items. After selling 74 items, some people don't have the paper. It's only the problem on the back that I looked at. Only looked at the back. I want the equation for that. They broke even after selling 315 items. Right, broke even means they had a profit of 0. After selling 74, they had a net loss. So really what I've done is given you 2 points on the graph. Okay. I think where people went wrong, you can't just divide 1089 by 74. You can't just divide 1089 by 74, right? You need to find out, and here's where we'll start for the slope. At 74 items, you're way down here at negative 1,089. Okay. At 74 items, you're down here at negative 109.32. I want to know how much you made and how many items you sold, right? That's your slope, is how much did you make to break even? And how many items did you sell? Okay, what was the difference in items that you sold? Okay, so working on, I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes. You're going to return these in. You're going to return these in, okay? We'll take 5 minutes to try and see if we can't talk about it. If you do, like pluses, you got it all right already, help people around you, not by copying, but by explaining to them, helping them, leading them through how you did it, okay? 5 minutes, ready, set, go.